Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So John Eastman, remember John Eastman, the guy who wrote up that cute little memo on how Donald Trump could overthrow our elections and, basically throw out a couple hundred years worth of peaceful transitions of power. Remember that? Remember that, John Eastman? Yeah, well, evidently he has said he is going to plead the fifth. Because if he opens his mouth, he will absolutely, without question, incriminate himself. And look, I expect this a lot. I expect the hearings to be a lot of Trump people coming out and sitting in the chair saying, I plead the fifth. And I'm okay with that. As long as they put it on TV and we all get to see the thieves, the liars, and cheats pleading the fifth, I am okay with that. And one of those people I would love to see on the stand, well, a couple of them, especially those folks in Congress, but one of them, that Madison Cawthorn, I want to know what he did on January 6th. He was on the stage riling people up. I want to know what he did. I'd like to see him behind bars. But more importantly, I'd like to see him thrown out of Congress altogether. And I'm hoping the good voters of the 13th Congressional District there in North Carolina will do just that. That's why I've asked the guy who's going to be running against him in the next election to come talk with us. Josh Remillard is a veteran, father, husband, Democrat in North Carolina. Impressive, and someone who I do hope is taking out Madison Cawthorn in the next election. Josh, thanks for taking time for us.
Oh man, hey, thank you so much for having me on. This is certainly an honor.
So I'm looking at this, and I got to start right from the beginning. I have no idea how this guy gets elected to any position of authority, let alone to sit in the U.S. Congress. But I understand that he ran and carpet bagged to another district to get away from you the last time. Am I getting this right?
That's correct. It was mid-November. He announced that he was moving to the newly drawn district, NC-13. Look, I mean, he said plenty of reasons in his announcement video why he was going there. One was that he's trying to strengthen or bolster the conservative fighting spirit, or whatever that means. But look, the in all honesty, the district that we were in previously, NC-14, had been redrawn to the point where it became more competitive and it became easier for a Democrat to win. The district that he's in, that he moved to, District 13, this was drawn so that it would be favorable to a conservative, to a Republican. So I mean, you call a spade a spade. I mean, if it quacks like a duck, and if it walks like a duck, it's got to be a duck, right?
So now I understand you're now going after him, which good on you. Follow him wherever he's got to go. And I watched your video, which I think, and we're going to put out on social media so everyone can take a look at. Touching, heartbreaking, and angering all at the same time when you think about the things that this guy has done over the last year and a half. Share with us a little bit about why you've jumped into this and why you think this is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say this just briefly. Like, I learned early that life is a fight. I mean, I was raised in the foster care system. I bounced around from family to family until my grandparents were able to adopt me. My grandfather was working for the State Department, and he and my grandmother were looking forward to traveling around the world, and I guess you could say living out their golden years. But then they saw that I needed them. They found out that I needed them, and I mean, they made huge sacrifices to take me in. And look, I mean, even the jobs I held were fights. I worked on a tugboat. I worked as a piercer in a tattoo shop and as a bouncer. And then, of course, at the age of 24, that's when I enlisted in the Army to fight for my country. I was sort of milling about town in Wilmington, and started paying a little bit more attention to the news. And I started seeing the death toll rise in Afghanistan and Iraq. And, I just ended up hating myself, because I'm thinking, here I am trying to clip out, coupons to go to Hardee's and get a cheap burger. And these guys are over there fighting and dying for this country. And so I had like an eighth of a tank of gas in my car, and I drove straight out to the recruiter. And I said, look, man, I don't want you to sell me on anything. Put me in the infantry, put me in the fastest deploying unit you can out of basic, because that's the fight that I need to be in. So I did 8 years in the Army as an infantryman and 2 combat tours in Iraq. And look, when I was over there, I lost battle buddies, right? And when I was stationed in Germany, I met a really great guy. He was one of my best friends. And, once they cased our colors of our unit in Germany, they sent us back to the States. He went to a different unit. His unit went to Afghanistan. I stayed in the States. When I met up with him after I got out of the Army, I mean, he just wasn't the same. He wasn't the same. He had a lot of scars. He was suffering really hard from PTSD because his unit had gotten ambushed in Afghanistan, and he blamed himself for losing his battle buddies and some of his friends. And, my wife and I did everything that we could. We brought him into our house. I took him out to the VA. I tried to get him help. And in the end, his demons got the best of him. Yeah, and he ended up taking his life.
And you're talking about your friend Bryce that you talk about in the video.
That's correct.
And I'll tell you, I grew up as a kid in the 1970s, watching them, the men come back from Vietnam and just being dumped into the housing project that I lived in. And with broken minds, broken bodies, missing parts, drug and alcohol problems, and just dumped like trash. And it was one of these things that I had hoped we would never see again. And yet I hear stories like the one that you're telling and others, and it's heartbreaking. And I wonder why we allow that to happen. So when I hear you say this is the reason, that one of the reasons I'm into this, I'm 100% behind you.
Yeah, he ended up taking his life. And you're right. I mean, the most heartbreaking, beyond him taking his life, the most heartbreaking time was, he and I were going through a Taco Bell drive-through, and he ended up just melting. He was crying, and he blamed himself for everything. And so I stayed with his body until they took it away, and I mean that's still an extremely painful memory for him. I mean it hurts.
Can't imagine.
And all of that came rushing back on January 6th. I was sort of milling about the house, and I flipped on the news, and I was watching everything that unfold, and I remember just screaming at the TV. My wife comes walking in the house, and she's like, "What are you screaming at?" And I'm like, look what's happening to our country right now. Like, you expect this in other countries. This isn't what men and women died for to protect our country. So we had a conversation thereafter, and I said, "Look, babe, I can't live with myself if I don't get involved in this race. I fought and bled for this country. Men and women have fought and died for this country, to protect our Constitution, to protect our nation's capital, our friends and our family. No, I can't stand by while this guy spits on the sacrifice of everything that every other service member has fought for." And I'm honestly, I'm tired of children like Madison Cawthorn, claiming patriotism, when in fact, I mean, I love this country. I love this country. You don't have to be in the military to be a patriot, but that person is not a patriot. He's a fraud. Yeah. That's just it, flat out for me.
You were in the Army. You spent years as a gunner on a Humvee. When you see a picture of Madison Cawthorn and a video of him, joking that he's got a new attachment for his wheelchair, kind of imitating what you have done, what does it make you think?
Initially it makes you angry. But I realize that's just false patriotism. That's all it is. It's something to make himself look cool. It's a new toy. He doesn't respect the service and sacrifice that men and women have gone through for the past 200 years, 200 plus years of this country. He doesn't respect it. Guns to him are toys. They're accessories. It's the same as souping up your car for him. But he just drapes the flag over it. I know what that's like to put another person on the end of my knife sight and to have to pull the trigger. I know what that's like. And other service members know what that's like too. And it's not fun. It's not fun and games. It's not like Call of Duty. It's not like Saving Private Ryan. It's not like those movies. This is real life. And those of us that have served and have gone through that, we take that stuff seriously.
You're listening to The Rick Smith Show here with Josh Remillard. He is running for Congress in North Carolina's 13th Congressional District. The website, joshremillard.com, if you want to check out the site. Also, maybe make a donation, because all campaigns need money. If you got a question for Josh, we'd love to hear it. 1-866-416-RICK. That's 1-866-416-7425. Now, after the Kyle Rittenhouse decision, Madison Cawthorn came out with a little video in his car saying that we need to be armed and be dangerous. And I got to tell you, I'm a defender of the Second Amendment. I think people have the right to bear arms, but I think there are a lot of responsibilities that should come with that. But I think that messaging coming out of that moment is not only irresponsible, it should be almost criminal on a certain level. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Look, in my mind, he's immature and he's a child. That's just all. That's all it is. This kid has gone through life with a silver spoon in his mouth. He doesn't understand the reality, the consequences to actions, the gravity that he has in that position, being a representative. He doesn't understand it. To him, it says it all. The fact that he has a comms team over having a policy team. For him, it's just about being famous, and he'll say anything that can trigger progressives, that can trigger the left, whatever. So long as he raises the hairs on people's back, he's fine, because then he's in favor with this with his golden god, if you will, Donald Trump.
No, and look, you have hit on something I've been talking about for a while. Sadly, too many in the Republican Party right now is it's all about reality star fame. It's all about, hey, look at me. What angle can I use to get attention? What can I do to raise my profile? They don't bring actual policy to the floor to pass legislation. They're not doing anything to make people's lives better in any way, shape, or form. It's just about them. And while, on a certain level, I'm okay, go play your games, it's not moving us forward as a country. And actually, you look at what he did and others on January 6th, and this is why I'm hoping the January 6th Commission puts these people under oath and sits them down and makes them say whatever. They want to plead the fifth, fine, I want to hear that. But I want to know what these people did on January 6th. People like Madison Cawthorn.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I'll say this: when I took the oath of enlistment, I swore to defend the Constitution of this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I'll tell you what, Madison Cawthorn to me has demonstrated that he's an enemy to this country, and it's imperative that he is held accountable for everything he's done since January 6th. There are policy platforms that are so important that Democrats all over the country are fighting for. That I care about, especially for NC-13. But in order to get those things passed, in order to progress and leave this world better for our children, we got to take someone like Madison Cawthorn. We got to take him down.
They got to go.
Yeah.
JoshRemillard.com. That's the website. Make sure you check this out. Now, we spent a bunch of time talking about just how bad he is, and he is bad. I mean, fortunately, he's not smart enough, in my view, to actually have policy chops, which on a certain level, I guess, is okay. He'll have his flash in the pan, I hope. But I want to talk about what you want to see. What policies are you going to move forth? It's one thing, I want him out, but I also want somebody in there who's got some ideas on how we move this country forward, because there are families that are struggling. There are kids that go to bed hungry. There are veterans who go to bed homeless. These are real things that need to be addressed. How do you go about that?
That's exactly right. And I'll start off by saying, when I got out of the Army, when my tours were up, I left the Army, but the Army didn't leave me. There was so much work to do back home. So I engaged with the community, and, I volunteered with Team Rubicon, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with who that organization or what that organization is, but they train veterans on how to respond to natural disaster and then to aid in natural disaster relief. So they actually got me my wildland firefighter certification and my damage assessment certification. And then they sent me off to Florida after Hurricane Michael to aid in disaster relief. I've always believed that if anyone says that they want to represent a community, lead a community, advocate for community, whatever the case is, then you need to be willing to get down on the ground with that community and lend yourself to that community. Yep. So for me, I want to first and foremost make sure that my brothers and sisters in arms are taken care of, that the VA is strengthened, that the VA hospitals are improved, because they need to be improved at least to the same age as the rest of the hospitals out there.
As I understand, look, they're like 50,000 people short because the last administration did not hire anybody. So we've got some real problems on that vein. And the reality is they've allowed that to languish. He took a lot of credit for stuff he didn't do, but at the end of it, you were still 50,000 employees short. at a time when the need is at its height. So last line of questioning I've got for you, because, what's that issue that Josh Remillard goes, no, this is it. This is the important issue. Is it the veterans issue? Is it healthcare? Is it labor rights? What is Josh Remillard's hill that policy wise he dies on?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Veterans issues are very important, but the other thing too that I think that will help out veterans is strengthening our economy, because once we get out of the military, we become blue collar workers, right? We get back into the working environment and we start working again. So I want to continue strengthening our economy. I want to continue bringing jobs back to NC-13, to North Carolina. I think the infrastructure bill is a fantastic approach to helping rebuild our infrastructure, helping to secure our supply lines, and helping to secure the middle class.
It is most certainly something that we need to do, and I'm grateful we got that. I'm hoping we get something on the Build Back Better plan, and we do that with union labor and with good, solid union wage jobs for folks to be able to take care of their families. Josh, I appreciate the time. I wish you the best. I want you to come back early and often as this campaign heats up. I wish you the best, and again, I hope you come back.
Thank you so much for having me on. It certainly means a lot.
Good stuff. Appreciate it. Josh Remillard. Make sure you check out the website, joshremillard.com. We'll get links out on social media on how you can do that. And look, at the end of the day, the reality is Madison Cawthorn has to go. This is one of those moments where, sadly, we have let people into our halls of power who are, they don't live up to the expectations and the needs that we should have. This is where I'm frustrated. I look at him, I look at Boebert, I look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, I look at these people who have nothing but contempt and disrespect for our halls of power and bring nothing to the table. And yet there they are, causing all this friction, all this chaos, and getting nothing done. And while nothing gets done, what happens? We still have people who suffer. We still have families who are struggling. We still have kids who go to bed hungry. We still have veterans who go to bed homeless. And we have people like Josh's friend Bryce, who not getting the help that they need and suffering with the demons that they have. And this is not who we are. So make sure you check out the website, joshremillard.com. We'll get links out on social media. Gonna take a quick break. Right back after this. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk.